Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. I apologize for the technical difficulties. Thank you for being patient. Eric H526, Luke St. Martin, thank you so much for being the best moderators to my super chat. The only way I can do these live streams is with your support. I thank you very, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, so to my super chat, thank you. Thank you everybody for being patient. A really interesting topic to discuss, really interesting topic to discuss is the outrage. When people say they're outraged, first of all, comedy is no longer alive in this country. We used to have the most brilliant comedians. Now, you have some amazing comedians like Bill Burr. He's hilarious. He's funny. I love Cat Williams. I think that he's absolutely brilliant and amazing. I think that, obviously, Dave Chappelle, obviously, but see, again, Bill Burr, Cat Williams, Dave Chappelle, they all started years back. Okay, today's comedians, you can look. Ryan Long is fantastic. Ryan Long is on YouTube. Definitely subscribe. And he's hilarious. He has a whole bunch of comedians that he works with. And there's a whole, the comedy that actually being funny is very difficult. But if you look at the history of comedy. George Carlin, Don Rickles, Mel Brooks, Howard Stern. Could Howard Stern, even though he technically wasn't necessarily a comedian, could Howard Stern have started in this day and age? That's a question that people should ask. You have so many comedians. You couldn't listen to punk music. The best punk bands of all time, the Ramones, the Misfits, the Pistols, there are songs that would be pretty much banned today. You couldn't listen to them because of the outrage. You couldn't watch History of the World, Mel Brooks, or any Blazing Saddles. Everything would be deemed problematic. When there's nothing problematic about anything that Mel Brooks has ever done. There's a difference between funny and truly offensive. There's a difference between really horrible and mean-spirited and just hilarious and funny. And what's happened in this day and age is that ideas that would never gain steam, ideas that would never resonate outside of perhaps a left-leaning college course at UC Berkeley in 1999. Or, and that's not to say that certain lessons learned within the college course or within the ideology, there could be some relevant, important things to learn from the left. There could be some relevant, important things to learn from an ultra-liberal professor that has viewpoints on society and contentious issues. That could be very intriguing. That doesn't necessarily have to serve, however, as the basis for how society enjoys itself. There's zero entertainment now. Every major series or franchise, Star Wars is an example. Everything is now a social experiment. Let's see what we can do. Or like the production companies or Hollywood is basically looking at every franchise and saying, let's try to remake a formula that's worked forever. People enjoy it. Let's try to remake it into some social experiment. And some of the movies like, that might work here and there, but it doesn't work all the time. Like, society changes and evolves because ideas resonate. When you try to force and impose standards of behavior, especially when people that are trying to impose these standards of behavior, these orthodoxies, this dogma, especially when they're hypocrites. So when people who are hypocritical try to impose this pious, reverent set of rules and doctrines and protocols that originate perhaps in like a left-leaning course or books or from professors or from intellectuals that ordinarily would have an audience, like, you know, their books might be written or might be read by college students who wanted to take that course. But now everything in society, because of cyberspace, everything in society has to be judged by people, oftentimes without even a profile picture. And that's not how the world changes. Like, people, that's why the Grammys ratings tanked. That's why Bill Burr is still funny. That's why most people don't know, like most Americans, if you look at the Grammys, and it's not just because of the internet, you look at the Grammys in the early 80s, the world was watching Michael Jackson. The world was watching Prince. Okay, the world was watching Madonna. The world was watching MC Hammer. The world was like, everyone knew who won a Grammy, even like up until 10 years ago, like even 5, 6, 7 years ago. You knew, you had the internet and the social media 7, 8 years ago. You knew, but you still knew who won Grammys. People still tuned into the Oscars. People still cared about, like, movies. Now everything's been watered down and filtered to appeal to the sensibilities of the most judgmental, hypocritical, like, people who just live to condemn. You just live to condemn and judge. And then to top that off, you have actual, like, serious issues. Like, yes, police brutality is a serious issue. It needs to be addressed. There should be federal laws that protect citizens. Yes, it is important. But when every single element of entertainment, for example, you cannot watch. So, like, what Bill Burr was able to do, I'm not going to repeat what he said, but it was hilarious. What he's able to do is say, look, his comedy is like, look, I'm an average person, like a normal human being, a normal, everyday person. And his comedy resonates with people of all different backgrounds because there's more that unites us. See, the left and Democrats and wonderful, morally superior liberals, beautiful, amazing people, they want to segment, and they want to like create these categories and segment society into different parts. But the reality is that most Americans experience pretty much the same things. Most Americans. And I'm not talking about the same economic situation. I'm not talking about the same political leanings. I'm talking about the same life experiences. Everyone can relate to being in a tough relationship. Everyone can relate to being either laid off or, having a tough time at work. Everyone can relate to school. Everyone can relate to physical ailments. The human condition, when a comedian points out certain peculiarities or amusing elements is funny sometimes. But see, again, like, I watched Chris Rock. This was like at USC like 20 years ago. Okay? 23 years ago, I think. About 23 years ago, 24 years ago. He was hilarious. I read an article that his comedy wouldn't be allowed now. Chris Rock's one of the greats of all time. Eddie Murphy's one of the greats of all time. Richard Pryor could be the greatest of all time. So, would their comedy be allowed today? No. That's why Richard Burr, it's like anyone who is a link, just give us a link to the past, because the past 2 to 3 years have been like pretty much this like Twitter, and it's primarily Twitter. People who pontificate about certain contentious issues, who vote Democrat, and who always judge and condemn even Bernie Sanders supporters. Like, if you're a liberal Democrat, or if you're a person on the left that is outraged by everything, you probably at one point thought Bernie Sanders was problematic. That's a word that, by the way, I never understood. Like, problematic is a subjective viewpoint. What's problematic to you is not problematic to other people. But see, on Twitter, ideas, and I'm trying to, like, obviously, I'm trying to be algorithmically friendly, okay? Because if you talk about any topic that isn't sanctioned, any topic that's somewhat contentious, it's always an issue. So I'm trying to be safe, but like, you can't, first of all, comedy is not the same. Late night is not the same. Hollywood is not the same. And you can actually, if you look, by the way, if you just look at Aliens, Sigourney Weaver, can you name a stronger female lead than Sigourney Weaver in Aliens? I can't. Watch Aliens 2, okay? I just can't. You can look back, and it's like, I don't want to say this generation, or I could say, like, I should say the left on Twitter believes that they've created this new era of empowerment, but you're actually, what they've done is they've diluted they've diluted and watered down comedy, every type of like art form that is devoted to, like, for example, the movie Aliens. They weren't trying there. Sigourney, there was no, like, you can watch certain movies and say, oh my God, what are they doing? What are they doing to this franchise? Or what are they doing to this? This makes no sense at all. They're literally trying to just impose a political viewpoint upon a story and sell it as original, or sell it as this new and just and, righteous evolution. But you could just look back and, like, you didn't have to try hard to you can look at comedy. You go and watch History of the World with Mel Brooks, okay? History of the World, there's there's so many irreverent, and that's the thing, like, being irreverent is funny. There's so many examples, but like there's like a whole section where he makes fun, doesn't make fun of it directly, but I mean, I guess he does. The Inquisition. There's nothing funny about the Inquisition, but he turns it into a musical. Okay? Now everything is like dissected into, well, oh, Twilight. They're going after Twilight. And in Twilight, there are people of color that are heroic, and there are women that are heroic, but it's never good enough. It's problematic. Don't you know the subliminal themes? They do that with Trump also. They do that with Trump. It's like they can't just ignore, like, President Trump, and in my last segment, a couple people were saying, oh, well, he tells it like it is. Like, well, okay, but you know what? As president, even if they were after him, even if they were disingenuous, even if they would never give him a fair chance, he could have toned down the rhetoric. It would have been better for him, and it would have just been better for the country. But his achievements overshadow the rhetoric. Unfortunately for a great many people, his Twitter account overshadowed his achievements. And like what they do when they don't have anything, when they don't have any direct grievance, they create this like subliminal or unconscious or this unseen problem. So like with Twilight, for example, there are certain themes within the movie that people find problematic. It's a vampire movie. It's a vampire movie that takes place in a certain region of the country. And if anything, the movie celebrates the people within that region. No. It's not. It's a big problem. I mean, you could look. There's like, you can't simply enjoy yourself. Everything is like, you couldn't live with that type of person. You couldn't live with that type of person. If you said, honey, where's the remote control? The remote control? You think I'm going to go to the sofa and eat a whole carton of ice cream? And you're calling my rear end gigantic? No, I just asked for the remote control. The underlying themes there are that you think I'm lazy. You think that because I, in your mind, hid the remote control, that it's so important to me because I just sit around eating ice cream all night while you sleep, watching TV, and changing the channel with the remote control that you want now. It's like, no, I just wanted the remote control. What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? That's exactly what society has become. This like, Twitter is filled with apoplectic, judgmental, Justin, hello, apoplectic, judgmental, disgruntled, people searching for some kind of grievance somewhere. You can't even enjoy vampires. It is impossible. You can't even enjoy vampires unless it's sanctioned by, I don't know, these people on, it's all Twitter, by the way. If what's his name knew the negativity he unleashed in the world, and this is the same person who like does meditation every day, he's probably like you know, counting his billions, meditating, and he's oblivious to like the negative. If you needed to vent and release all of humanity's negative sentiments, Twitter would be the place. Which reminds me of Ghostbusters 2 with the slime bubbling up from negativity. And Bill Burr is hilarious. Why? Because his comedy is based on what the everyday human being, everyday man, doesn't matter what your background is, by the way. Okay, Men of all different backgrounds laugh at the same things. This is what Twitter and the evolved, intellectually and morally superior people in cyberspace don't understand. Okay, men of all backgrounds laugh at the same things. That's something that binds, and around the world, by the way. It's something that they just laugh at the same things. Okay, that might be unique, and, but that's the case. Everyone around the world can relate to Bill Burr's humor. Because every human being can, or every man in the world can at least relate to, like, for example, one of his like a couple of it, like the jokes that he told, or like his act at the Grammys was like, hey, I'm old here, what's going on? And oh my God, like the intellectuals are going to be upset with me. Bogdana Papai, you're the man. Thank you for putting mass media to shame. Thank you so very much, Bogdana Papai. Thank you so very, very much. I hope all is well. Good to hear from you, and thank you so much, as always, for your support and for your kind words. I think that there is a pushback, Bogdana Papai. I think that there is the pendulum is swinging back to some kind of sanity. See, I told people, thank you again, Bogdana Papai, everybody here. Didn't I tell people, I'm not right about everything, but I possess a certain modicum of wisdom, okay? I told people almost 3 years ago, I said, get off of Twitter, I'm off of Twitter. I had 30,000 Twitter followers, and close to maybe 27,000, something like that. And, of course, like, there's nothing good that comes from having a Twitter account. Facebook, the only good thing, and thank you again, Bogdana Papai, thank you so much. The only good thing that Facebook offers you is to just, get in touch with people that you haven't seen in a long time. But there's nothing, literally no. Oh, Archie Bunker, Tammy. Archie Bunker wouldn't be allowed. Exactly. So Facebook allows you to get in touch with people you haven't seen in a long time. But, like, you wouldn't have, okay, you couldn't listen to the Ramones. There's a song, 53rd and 3rd, you could not listen to. Then it's, Something Took My Baby Away, you couldn't listen to. Last Caress and the Misfits, basically a lot of Misfits songs. Something, My Darling, you couldn't listen to. Today, you can, but if the bands were coming out today, like debuting, it would be a big problem. So they're legendary bands. So their music, the thing is, the high priests of morality on Twitter they can't go after anyone that was famous prior to, 2010 or maybe 2014 even. They gained political influence because of, President Trump amplified the voices of a great many imbeciles. People whose ideas would never have resonated outside of Twitter. And I'm not talking about, activists who are trying to push for, legitimate legislation to protect citizens. I'm not talking about, good people who have, noble intent. I'm talking about people who just want to judge and condemn. I'm talking about people who touch certain parts in ecstasy just by saying, oh, that's a bad person. You've seen, there's a certain channel, by the way, had a racial discrimination lawsuit, and that Bernie Sanders had to unendorse one of the pundits there. They have a sports channel. Oh my God, it's a sports channel. It's not even about sports. Every segment is, a morality lesson. It's a lesson on morality, a lesson on life and morality and justice, and how this person is a horrible human being. And you know what? That person said something, and maybe actually what the person said isn't linked to the supreme type of theory. But, that person said something, and it's kind of similar, sort of similar to another theory, and that theory is linked to the most horrible human beings on the planet. So if you really actually, the person we're talking about is the most horrible person on the planet. Yes, and we're good, and you in the comments section are really wonderful people. And they just watch, interactions with human beings, and everything revolves around this nefarious motive. That actually is the true racism right there. When your political discourse revolves around, when you don't see people as just human beings, and you see them as they're into the power disparity. But see, you're not looking at people as human beings. You're looking at people as pawns within a certain political theory. Bogdana Babai, thank you so very, very much again. Thank you. It's like Bill Burr is a link to the past. Okay? Let me tell you something. Go watch E.T. Go get the latest DVD. Okay? The latest DVD. Okay? The latest DVD of E.T., Star Wars, probably Indiana Jones, see, I told you, there are about 4 or 5 record stores in all of LA. It's a giant city. There's only really 4 or 5 good record stores with old DVDs that you could get. Okay? I got the old Star Wars. I'm telling you, wherever you are, if you're watching this, go and get the original. It's not going to be expensive. Go to a record store or a place that sells old DVDs. Get a DVD of E.T., okay? Because you better believe now if Disney or if it's not just one, they're all they've added scenes, they've deleted scenes because the scenes are problematic. You're talking about E.T. I remember watching E.T. in the movie theaters. People were crying. Those were the days when people would actually cry in movie theaters. Is there a movie out now that would ever even move anyone to the point of that type of emotion? I remember people crying in movie theaters in E.T. I remember, watching Return of the Jedi. I remember watching Rocky, or Rocky 2, and wanting to be a boxer. Is there any magic left? There's no magic left in Hollywood. It's just condemnation from people who oftentimes are the greatest imbeciles and most ignorant individuals you've ever seen in your life. But they're on Twitter, and they're the moral foundation against Trump. So, Bogdana Babai, thank you again. Deplorable Brian! The darn near 5-bit from Blazing Sound. Punchlines insanity. Exactly. But they skip the point and get offended. Exactly. They don't get Deplorable Brian. Exactly. They don't understand that, what satire is, and then, the nature of comedy. They don't get. Everything is taken literally. You know why? You want to know why the left takes everything literally? Because if they can find a grievance or something problematic, they derive instant political influence. So it's a power trip. You get they're not, okay, You have people, by the way, who fit the definitions of the 1930s and 1940s Germans, and I can't say the word. There's one person who literally called for the destruction of a country. I'm not going to get into it, and was kicked off of Twitch. That's exactly what the 1930s and 1940s Germans would want. And I'm talking about, I use that phrase because I can't say the word because the algorithm won't let you. You have people on the left who are so filled with contempt and venom and vitriol. And they always vote Democrat, by the way. So oftentimes these people are like, 5 different political labels, and they consider themselves the edgiest, most intellectual. It's like, they don't know that much. You listen to them. I've listened to like a lot of the young, they're in their 20s, I think, maybe late 20s, like the far left. I listen to their videos and I'm like, you don't know anything. They know very little. And it's like, it's interesting because I debated Richard Spencer. I defeated his ideologies with reason and logic. In the last 20 minutes, I explained how, like, the atrocities and the heinous repercussions and the most, the horrors that his ideology would lead to. And there are people on the far left who are the exact same type, who have this exact same type of viewpoint, but, masked within this, like, morality. They have an obsession with morality, of being moral. They don't want to be moral. Being moral would entail looking at a complex issue and not necessarily stating one side is 100% at fault. You could say one side is 80% at fault or 75% at fault. But if you could say one group or one country or one, 100% at fault, that's not a moral position to take. Now, I'm kind of speaking in roundabout terms. But Deplorable Brian, thank you. Thank you, Deplorable Brian. Exactly. Arya Lee! Twitter has zero moral authority. You're all people with dark hearts. You rock, H.A. Thank you. Arya Lee, thank you. Thank you, Deplorable Brian, Arya Lee. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Arya. Thank you. Bogdana Papai, thank you again. Deplorable Brian, Arya, thank you so very much. Thank you. But it's like, without social media, see, I don't have a super large channel, but I built it from my writing in The Hill, The Huffington Post, Salon, The Jerusalem Post, The Federalist. You can see all my writing on hagoodman.com, but I didn't build it on social media. I really didn't. I didn't build, like, social media has never helped. I don't think has really, social media helps you only if your ideas don't really resonate. Because oftentimes, like, generally the left or Democrats or a great many ideologies associated with liberals or the Democratic Party, even though they're rooted in goodness, like, they might have noble intent. They might want to make the world a better place. But were it not for Twitter or cyberspace, these ideas wouldn't gain traction, or they wouldn't be an obsession, at least. Like, okay, one idea that the left has, or that progressives have, that is noble is Medicare for all. This is the problem with Twitter. The Democratic Party never had any intention of implementing universal single-payer health care for 320 million Americans. They never, ever had, and they never will. It is a Green Party policy. It is not a Democratic Party policy. And AOC and Bernie Sanders won't even vote on it. And then you have Jimmy Dore, who does the right thing. And then they go after him like, okay, he does the right thing, and he basically says, hey, why don't you vote on it? Because, and mind you, everyone on the left believes this will save lives, that it's immoral, that it's just, and if you don't listen to it. And do you think Jimmy Dore is backed up by certain individuals who I will not name? But if they ever said a word to me, it would be on. I'm talking about million sub people. I'm talking about million to 4 million sub people. Okay? The $20 million venture capital people. Or people associated with the $20 million venture capital people that Bernie Sanders had to unendorse because of really horrible and offensive things one gentleman wrote. Who, by the way, apologized and, of course, was forgiven. Which is why they don't utilize their own principles when the principles are applied to them. But anyway, that's called hypocrisy. Anyway, you have an idea that's rooted in goodness. You have an idea that people are obsessed with, and it takes on a life of its own in cyberspace. It will never come to fruition through the Democratic Party, ever. If at any point it would have come to fruition, it would have been now. You have the House, the Senate, the presidency, all of media, everyone, every talk show host, everyone in Hollywood is on the left pretty much. And it would then be implemented at this point. They have the House, the Senate, the presidency. What more do you want? So when Jimmy Dore, who rightfully says, hey, why don't you at least have a floor vote, they say, no, we can't because the grift is exposed. They have no intention. The whole thing is about funneling votes back into the Democratic Party. That's why AOC and Bernie Sanders exist, to fund vote. And I used to be the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post. And the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. They don't have any intention of implementing Medicare for All. But my point regarding Medicare for All and Twitter is that were it not for cyberspace, that idea wouldn't gain the traction that it has, because you have the Mercatus study, double and triple tax collection. 320 million Americans is not the same as a European country with far less people. Also, when they say, well, you have money for military conflict, yes, that what drives me is I want Americans home from never-ending conflict. They care more about what Tucker Carlson said on his show than actually bringing Americans home. This is the media and the morally superior intellectuals. They care more about what Tucker Carlson said that they found offensive than actually bringing Americans home from never-ending conflict. Hi, Caroline. Thank you. But my point, though, is what happens when you actually point out the flaw in the system, when you actually point out, like Jimmy Dore did, that, hey, wait a second, you have hundreds of thousands or thousands upon thousands of people on Twitter. Okay? I mean, really, it's how many political accounts really account for politics on Twitter? But you have thousands upon thousands of people who want Medicare for all. The second that a person like Jimmy Dore, who rightfully, and I think he's very heroic, the second that a person like Jimmy Dore actually says, hey, why not now? Oh my God, he bought a house. Did you know he bought a house? And Tim Pool bought an even larger house. And they bought houses. It's oh, really? You're not going after all the politicians that pocketed money. These people earned their money. They earned every cent. Oh, he got a house from being and this is the mentality. This is the same mentality that causes people to dislike Bill Burr. he is trying to divide the left. Oh, by the way, did you know that Russia yet again tried to influence the election? Oh, by the way, Russia tried to amplify stories about Biden's son. Wow, isn't it interesting? Gee, you think maybe the whole Russia is... Okay, so Russia likes Tulsi Gabbard, Bernie Sanders, Jill Stein, definitely likes the DNC emails that showed they railroaded Bernie Sanders. Oh, and now likes... now wants everyone to know about the Biden's son's emails that he left because of pretty overt and blatant pay-to-play schemes. Russia wants you to know this. Do you think maybe Democrats are utilizing the fear of Putin, who, by the way, we will never have a military confrontation with because then we'd all be glowing? There would be no more planet. We learned this already. When the Berlin Wall fell, we learned all of this. I remember as a young kid watching, like Friday night sitcoms where they'd have to go into the attic because there was like a confrontation with Russia that would end the world. And then the whole point of the sitcom would be like, oh my God, like really, how did we get to this as a world? Like, can we ever move on? And then like fast forward 20 years. And Clinton lost, and there we go again. I mean, it's like, these new orthodoxies, this new dogma, this new it's losing steam, by the way, because the 2000s Republicans did the same thing. They did the exact same thing. It was just a different time period. And by the way, I keep on trying to say this, and I don't know if I'm saying it effectively. Without every possible advantage, without every conceivable possible advantage, the Democratic Party pretty much, without every advantage, can't exist. Think about, they have the smallest majority in Congress now, yet they had basically Twitter going to bat and suspending the New York Post's account. Why? Because at first they said the Russians infiltrated Biden's son's computer, which wasn't true. He just left it there, probably in a drunken stupor. Now they're saying the Russians, why would Putin want you to know about Biden's son's emails? Why? Why would Putin or Russia fear Democrats? They have the goods on everyone from the Clintons to probably Biden's son. Why? Who is afraid? What? This is so absurd. They've learned nothing from history. When President Obama stated the Cold War is over, he was right. But see, again, it's like they rely on people who are ignorant of history. And most Democrats have this view that they're morally and intellectually superior. These are the same people who believe that Putin infiltrated the DNC to inform everyone that the Democrats didn't want Bernie Sanders. But anyone they don't like is linked to Russia, disparaged by being linked to Russia. So obviously they're just using it as a political tool. There's zero, you couldn't find more inept and less frightening or intimidating politicians towards Putin than Democrats. They're the least intimidating. If you're Vladimir Putin, you're pretty much totally fine with Democrats. You have pretty much all the goods on the foundation, which the New York Times reported on. You pretty much know that President Obama's Secretary of State had servers with top secret and special access program intelligence for 4 years. You think maybe they not only infiltrated the DNC, but also her servers? Just maybe. Or Putin was like, no, DNC is better. This is like they run off emotion. That's it. They just run off of emotion. So, I mean, you can't enjoy anything. Here's another reason why you can't enjoy anything without without them injecting politics. If you were to actually enjoy yourself and listen to comedy, the comedy would actually poke fun of Democrats, more so than even Republicans in this day and age. The comedy, the most, like when you watch Ryan Long, he's hilarious. Bill Burr, hilarious. Anyone who looks at Twitter and the morally superior people, I mean, anyone who's morally superior, whether left or right, anyone who's morally superior, if they think that they're like, if they're such a narcissist and they're so egotistical and they're so full of themselves that they think they can condemn and judge while at the same time not condemning or judging their side, that is actually, there's like so much comedy there. And then they come up with these, like, their theories are so warped. Well, Ryan Long has a hilarious one today or the other day, really hilarious. But all of these theories on, like, the road to nowhere is paved with good intentions. So when you're continually trying to be just and righteous and holier than thou, you're going to trip up. And, like, the hypocrisy is going to show. Like, hypocrisy is funny oftentimes. That's why there's so much humor in looking at the left and saying, okay, this makes no sense. But, like, yeah, go and get DVDs of, like, Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, or Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. You can actually, like, see the original movie without the lame, like, edits. They added a whole bunch of things. They removed things because of something's problematic here and there, or whatever. They removed, like, what did they remove from E.T.? Who knows? I forgot. But the funny thing is when I think he made a reference to, like, not knowing any of the musical artists, which is just funny because, see, again, it's not a diss. He's not dissing anyone. He's not, like, disrespecting anyone. He's just kind of pointing out that he's old. That's funny. And then when he talks about like what he's referred to, like how he as an individual is referred to by by Twitter, it's funny because the way he says it, it's like a salt of the earth. It's like this salt of the earth. Like no holds barred, no nonsense type of individual. So it's interesting too, like this reverence. There's like so many sacred cows. There's so much, like, you have to, like, I noticed this. I'm like a microscopic version of, like, a lot of the people were talking about. I noticed this on the left when I was a huge Bernie Sanders supporter. My articles were going viral. And the reason I supported Bernie Sanders is because of what Trump was able to accomplish. I thought that Bernie would be able to accomplish what Trump did. A negotiated withdrawal You're talking about the left wants to cancel. Unfortunately, they are one step. I mean, if Bill Burr and honestly, like he would be a hero, even more so to the entire planet. And I don't even think I don't think supports Trump. I don't think we even know who he supports. I think he's done some funny bits on President Trump, but they're like the entire. Like all of Twitter that condemns and judges is just waiting to erase Bill Burr. They're waiting. They can't do it now because he didn't do anything bad. That's the thing. There's always outrage because there's nothing going on. There's no policies. Everybody's yawning or like looking. Oh, and there's scandals and controversies. And, oh, by the way, the same things but worse are happening now under our wonderful president, beloved, and oh my goodness, the charisma, the intelligence, the witty, and the lucid president that we have. So fantastic, and he's a beautiful human being, and he's absolutely wonderful. There's nobody better in the world than our beloved President Biden. Love him very much, love him. Same things are happening now. Same things. They would if they could. They're just waiting. Not a matter of what. Of course they can't erase Bill Burr now. I mean, he didn't do anything. They're just outraged. They're getting the motor going. It's like revving up a motor. And like revving up the motor. He does one more thing, and it's on. Oh, my God. Did you hear what Bill Burr said? What Bill Burr said is linked to this theory and that theory and this theory and that theory. And you know what? That theory is linked to one of the most horrible despots in the history of mankind. I'm sorry, peoplekind. So therefore, what Bill Burr does is embolden all the horrible things that everyone has ever thought. And Trumpism. You just wait. They're trying to. But if he, like, the one comedian, the one comedian that actually says, yeah, I don't care what you think of me, or the one actor that says, I don't care what you think of me, like with that banjo player. He said one good thing about a conservative journalist who, by the way, is not a provocateur. Anybody they don't like is not a journalist, he's a provocateur. He's provoking us. He's provoking a sentiment. We don't like this sentiment he's provoking. It's like, what? He's reporting. You have all of media reporting one thing and one thing only. Russia interfered, Trump is a monster, he pressured Zelensky. None of these things happen. Trump is not a monster. A monster doesn't allocate more funding to historically black colleges or universities like Trump did, or remove Americans from never-ending counterinsurgency conflict. May 1st, 2021, we should be out of a certain country. But of course, everything's public relations. So, like, oh, did you hear what Tucker Carlson said? Yeah, well, Tucker Carlson also wants Americans removed from harm's way. Removing Americans from never-ending conflict? Offensive words here and there. Which is more important morally? Obviously, removing Americans from never-ending conflict. But of course, you can't ask certain people on Twitter to be logical. You can't. That can't happen. Deplorable Brian. Goodman, I read an interesting book recently that provoked thought. I don't want to share it for fear of causing offense. Are these people real? Yeah. I know. Exactly. Thank you, Deplorable Brian. Exactly. Like, you can't even read a book. You can't even read a book. Everything is problematic. They even went after Harry Potter. What's her name? Everything is like, I just go, wait, just can one person with a great deal of money who has no problem they should just stand up and say, look, I don't really care what you think. Oh my God, all of humanity would just gravitate towards that person. That's why Trump was one of the reasons Trump was so popular. He didn't care. Oh my God, he's so horrible. He's so horrible. We can't stand what he says. We love Biden, but we can't stand Trump because he's so mean. And then they repeat everything he says 1,000,000 times over. Our elite. Twitter has zero moral authority. Exactly. It's not a look, type in Bill Burr and you'll see that people say they're outraged with him. Why are they outraged? That's the evidence right there. That's the evidence. The evidence is right there. They're trying to already set the groundwork in motion. People have already been, look, there was the banjo player for that band. He couldn't even say, he had to take he had to go ahead and take a leave of absence from the band. So, obviously, see, that's the thing also. They set up these rules, then they say, well, it doesn't exist. Meanwhile, if you say one word, if you say one thing that's offensive. Oh, here's an example. You have somebody who raised $1 million for here's a prime example. Who is that person that raised $1 million for a children's charity? It was and he had a beer company. Almost $3 million in donations later, the man who raised money with a beer sign has ended his campaign. Hold on, is that the one? Yeah, I think that's the one. Here. So, the beer company tried to erase him because of a tweet. So he was under scrutiny for an offensive tweet. Then the beer company, so here's a prime example. I'm you have no examples. There's endless examples. Here's one. And then the journalist who found the tweet was then, I believe, what happened to the journalist? He was let go. He had his own offensive tweets. Okay, this is Washington Post. Iowa reporter who found a viral star's offensive tweet slammed when critics find his own offensive posts. So there you go. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. You never, that's one of the, you cannot even, you think God cares about an offensive tweet compared to $1 million to $3 million you raise for a charity? That's an actual good deed. That's an actual good deed. And then you have people like, humanist, that's fine, it's great, but at least adhere to your humanist perspectives. If you're an atheist and you live by a humanist code, great. So you're going to go after, this is the thing, it's the same irrationality from religious zealots is the same irrationality from people who will call up, oh, you voted Trump, I don't want to be your friend anymore. It's you don't want all the good things that he's done? He hasn't done any good things. And then they start yelling. So That's the thing. You simply cannot okay. Then that person was let go from the newspaper that tried to go after. So really, I actually it's unbelievable. It's come full circle. No, there's no better example of this type of mentality. There's just no better example of this type of mentality. This is not journalism, by the way. Journalism used to be about reporting a story, like an actual story that was important. What somebody wrote 10 years ago is not important at all. It has no bearing. It has no importance to the lives of people. None. Twitter is a platform that will never be remembered in human history. It's like a fleeting moment in cyberspace where lives are being ruined. And the people who don't think that it's that big of a deal haven't been erased from from society. This it is simply a platform that oftentimes Democrats or political operatives, let's say, or just people who align with the Democratic Party, utilize to gain political influence over others. That's it. WW! This is your 1 hour minimum wage. WW, thank you. WW. Thank you so very much. I hope all is well. They didn't even get that. They didn't even get that. WW, they didn't even get that. I mean, they didn't they didn't get anything. That's why. That's also, they have no policies. WW, everybody here, thank you so much. WW, thank you. They don't have actual policies like President Trump, USMCA, record low unemployment, Abraham Accords, first president stepped foot in North Korea. By the way, Dennis Rodman should get more praise for what he was able to help accomplish. He was amazing. But it's like you have no policies that get people excited. So what they do is they have to pontificate and judge. They don't utilize the same standards of judgment against themselves, but to pontificate and judge, to call anything what it's not, an insulting word, whether it's this is another phrase they use, awful. He's awful. That mentality is awful. It's like a child. This is like a childish way of speaking. It makes no sense. It's not awful. You disagree with it. So what? And then they say, here's a fact check of why my opinion is right. No, that is your opinion masquerading or what they do is they, under the guise of a fact check. So CBS, there was a researcher published in CBS Market Watch, 25 to 30% of Trump's statements weren't lies at all. They were just, the fact check was a difference of opinion. When somebody says something's misleading, when they say you're obfuscating, you're misleading, you're mischaracterizing, they're saying that I have a rebuttal. I disagree with your vantage point because, oh my God, I've issued a rebuttal. So what? Guess what? After your rebuttal, there's yet another statement to refute what you said. So what? Mischaracterization. So, like, there'll be an accusation against, like, pick any Democrat, any Democratic politician, and then it'll be a fact check. This politician engages in a mischaracterization. This is a disputed claim. Yeah, so what? And then they make up and fabricate quotes about Trump. It's pretty hilarious. They just make up and fabricate. Oh, that's right. Happy St. Patty's Day, everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Be safe. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Be safe, everyone. Well, we're almost there, Pacific time. Hi, Caroline. I saw that. Nice. WW. Thank you, WW. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Especially to my viewers in Ireland. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Stay safe. Exactly. Deplorable right. It's an opinion check. Janet, hello. Hi, Caroline, hello. So, I mean, I look at, like, you look at movies like American Pie or Eurotrip or, Revenge of the Nerds. You go Police Academy, Animal House. Oh my God. Everything would be problematic. Everything would be enabling horrible behavior. And you know what they do? They say your views are, causing people to think a certain way or do certain things. What a great many Democrats, what they do is they don't actually blame individuals who commit crimes or, horrendous things. They say, oh my goodness, this type of person believes this. And then when it's, by the way, maybe a person on the left who commits a horrible act, well, you can't say that this person is representative of, oh my goodness. Thank you, Janet. Thank you. Very kind of you. Yeah, I mean, it's I actually, can I tell you something? I love, like, those go to a record store. I'm telling you, you'll thank me. Buy any record or DVD or tape or VHS tape or whatever, or audio tape or whatever, like old DVD of a movie that you think will be altered because this new world is, like, completely upside down and everything's a big problem. You will thank me, because you'll be able to enjoy, like, I was watching Star Wars, like about, like, months back, and I was like, what? That's not, I don't remember that. Wait a second, Darth Vader, wait a second, where's the telepathic, or the telepathy scene, or telekinesis, or no, telepathy, where he's able to do something to one of the colonels, or the without holding it with just with his mind. Wait a second. Of course, that was removed. But again, like, if you didn't grow up with like Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor and Don Rickles and Mel Brooks and the Ramones and the Misfits and Two Live Crew, oh my God, this world needs Two Live Crew more than ever. You couldn't have anything good. There's nothing good allowed. Look, do you understand? Nothing good is allowed. Nothing fun, nothing amusing, nothing funny. Everything has to run through the sensibilities of people who will find problems with anything, especially subliminal, unseen issues, because these are the high priests of morality. Don't you understand? Don't you understand? They will fabricate and create problems. It's like being in a dysfunctional relationship. Did you look at that person? I was driving. What do you want me to do? Barrel into people? You looked at that person. Yeah, because I gotta look through the windshield to see where I'm going. You looked at that person, and you're trying to say that you would rather be with another individual. Haha, dine to die. Hello, yes, dine to die. Exactly. Everything is like everything is twisted into how can you derive some kind of political influence based on negativity? How can you possibly derive political influence based on negativity? I think though here's the difference. I like Cardi B. I don't think there's a difference. I like Cardi B. Cardi B is like totally fine with me. Like the political views I disagree with, not all the political views, but generally against Trump. But I don't find Cardi B like I didn't find anything like that. Didn't offend me at all. So I mean, I like Two Live Crew. But Two Live Crew is like funny, like there's like a element of humor, and it's more of a dance type of more of a music that you would dance to, or like a different, maybe you would enjoy it in a different manner. Deplorable Brian. Well, given the problem is if your initial reaction was to laugh rather than be offended, exactly, you must be some kind of, or adhere to some kind of, exactly. Deplorable Brian, thank you. Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. Eric H526, Luke St. Martin, thank you. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate the support. Thank you, everybody. I will see you very soon. Check out the live stream probably in about 4 to 5. I mean, no, the upload about 4 to 5 hours. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Be safe. And have a good time. And just be very, very safe. And, Sam Kinison. I love Sam Kinison. How can you not, exactly. How can you not love Sam Kinison? Conrad, exactly. How can you not love Sam Kinison? And you couldn't even enjoy Sam Kinison in this day and age. You couldn't enjoy Sam Kinison, Two Live Crew, punk music. You couldn't enjoy Mel Brooks. You couldn't enjoy anything today. The high priests on Twitter would deem it problematic. His comedy would be problematic. Give me your thoughts, everyone. Thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll see